Welcome to INFS 321 Information Sources, and this is the last session in this particular course, and it's a continuation of the internet, what we learned in the previous session. You can recollect many things we did in the previous session. We learned about protocols and how to navigate. Now, in this particular session, we'll learn about the internet services, and also we'll learn about the criteria for evaluating web information. There are several internet services. We have search engines, parts of the service. We have search directories. Now, search engines collect information from websites and then place them into a database. And so when you're looking for any information and you use your search engine, the search engine, which acts as a spider or as a robot, scans the internet, finds the information, and sends the information to you. So the search engines are described as special programs that work automatically to find the documents. And when searching, the results are listed using a relevance ranking. So the most important ones come up first, which is more closely related to your terms that you put in, till the very limited information follows. So you have a ranking of very high and then to very low. So the ranking is based on a few factors: how often your search terms appear on the web page, then the information is brought up, and where they are located, information is brought up. So we have a few search engines that you are all very familiar with, such as Google, Alta Vista, and Excite. Now, there is another closely related type of search engines, but let's look at how best you can use search engines for, or what kind of information that will you get from search engine. So these are a few disadvantages. The search engines are not always the best place to go for when you are looking for information, because they do not always evaluate the information. So for a search engine which brings out the information, you cannot rely totally on that information, because anybody can put the information on the internet. So the information on the internet is not organized, and the information is not also very free all the time. Most of the information on the internet is also not very comprehensive, and the information is also not permanent. So you should bear this one in mind when you are looking for information using the search engines. Now, the search engines would help you find unique keywords. And again, the caution is that all the information which come up may not be evaluated. The search engines can bring out information which is good, or which is bad, or which is even ugly, just confirming that you must evaluate whatever information that you find on the internet, no matter which search engine that you use. Another type of search engine is what you call a meta search engine. A meta search engine offers a one-stop shopping to the internet. So what the meta search engine does is to search simultaneously different search engines and directories and bring you the results in some kind of order. Now, you would use it when you are conducting a relatively simple search, or when you are not lucky pulling up documents in your search using just one search engine, and so you are in a hurry. So for instance, a meta search engine such as Dogpile will search Google and bring you the results, will search Alta Vista, will search Excite, as opposed to a search engine which searches just one search engine. So when you have an obscure topic, you can use a meta search engine. Examples of meta search engines being Metacrawler and Dogpile. Another internet search service is subject directories. Subject directories provide a sense of order of information collected. They find information relevant to your search or a topic, but they don't offer massive amounts of information like the search engines do. Usually the subject directories are collected and viewed by human beings who make decisions about which subject categories the information that they collect should belong to. And the search directories are best for browsing and searching of a more general nature. They are good sources of information on popular topics, and usually they are carefully evaluated and annotated, but not always. And usually it's librarians who compile these subject directories. So a few advantages of subject directories: they are organized hierarchically into browsable subject categories. So even if you are searching on computer science, they will have different branches of computer science, maybe a branch on hardware. Then you would have all the information on hardware together, a branch on software, a branch on programs. And so they break everything into browsable subject categories for you to be able to search for information. Now, unlike search engines, most subject directories do not compile their own databases. Instead of storing the pages, they just point to them. So they just give you links to pages. As a result, the directories might continue to point to a page that has been removed or that no longer exists. They are dead links. And of course, because it's a human effort, human endeavor, you can expect to find some of these dead links in a subject directory. So let's look at different types of subject directories. We have general directories, academic directories, and commercial directories. And you know about the commercial one, the Yahoos, they are all commercial directories. Then we also have another internet service, which is the gateways. So we have the gateways, and then we have the subject-specific databases. There are two kinds of gateways: the library gateways and portals. The library gateways happen to be a collection of databases and information sites arranged by subjects that have been assembled, reviewed, and recommended by specialists, usually librarians. Then the gateway collection supports research and reference needs by identifying and pointing to recommended academically oriented pages on the web. So these gateways are really meant for academic purposes, academic research. A few gateways that you will need to search yourself include academic librarian, and there's one which is very interesting, which I always recommend, which is the Pinakes, P-I-N-A-K-E-S. So look at that one and see the type of information contained in the gateway. We have what you also call portals. Portals are directories that have been created or taken over by commercial interests and then reconfigured to act as a gateway. So you have a portal which contains everything. It has popular categories such as email, current news, stock quotes, travel information, maps, and what have you. These are all portals. Then we have subject-specific databases. These are databases devoted to a single subject, created by professors, researchers, experts, governmental agencies, and the like. Now, there are different subject-specific databases on either news lanes or files or mailing lists or job finders, several of them. Now, one of these subject-specific databases that I use a lot is the WebMD. WebMD. It gives you health information. So no matter what is wrong with you, you can always go there, and it gives you information about what that particular ailment or disease is about, what that particular, the symptoms it portrays. It even gives you the medications for that particular ailment. But let me sound a caution. This is not to replace you visiting your doctor. It's just for you to enlighten yourself about what is wrong with you, and then before you go to your doctor's consulting room, you have read around whatever is wrong with you and you know a lot. So you can have a fruitful discussion with your doctor. So these subject-specific databases provide you a lot of information, and they are in different areas. For instance, Expedia. You can actually book your flights using Expedia. You do not have to travel, go and find any travel agent. You can do it yourself. So these are some of the information that you get from the subject-specific databases. Then we have what we call the invisible web. What is the invisible web? It's that portion of the web that the search engine cannot access. It's because, you remember, search engines use spiders, and these sites have pass-protected sites, or there are documents behind firewalls, and you need to actually log in before you be able to access information from what we call the invisible web or the deep web. Examples of such deep web include library catalogs. In many institutions, you need to log into the particular library or its institution to be able to access its catalog. And if you log in, it will mean you have to type in the login name, and spiders do not type. And so we refer to these aspects of the website as invisible to the search engines, because they cannot search it, but they will only point to it and tell you that, oh, you can find some information on what you're looking for from this particular website. So we refer to them as invisible web. Now, we have talked a lot about the internet, and we have talked a lot about domain names, and we talked a lot about search engines and subject directories and portals and the rest. And all of them give us information. We have also mentioned that information on the internet can be good, can be bad, can be ugly. Now, how will you know that a particular information is good, or is bad, or is ugly? In this particular session, we are going to look at the criteria for evaluating web information. So any information you take from the internet, whether it is coming from a .gov, a .org, or .edu, which presumably are credible information, you will need to use this criteria in evaluating that information. So what are these points for evaluating web information? Any information that you take from the net, you need to evaluate based on the authority, who wrote it, is he an expert, the accuracy of the information, is the information true, false, is it objective, or is it for commercial purposes, how current is the information, and what is the coverage of the information. So we'll go into a few details to mention why we need to evaluate based on these 5 criteria. For authority, first criterion, you need to know who the author is, or what are his credentials. And you need to consider the other things which have been highlighted in this particular page. So for you to be able to know whether the author is credible, look for affiliations. And if you look for affiliation, it will tell you where the author is coming from. If it's coming from a .com website, you know what it means, or .biz, or .edu, or .gov. His website will tell you exactly how you should evaluate that information or the other extensions. Now, what is the rationale for checking the author? You know that the internet, as I mentioned earlier, nobody controls the internet. It is only a couple of protocols which direct information to the right source. Now, since nobody controls what is put on the internet, the authority should be very, very important. Who has put that information there that you are accessing? Anyone can publish anything on the internet. It is for that matter that you need to check on the authority of the information that you have taken from the internet. Accuracy. Is the information reliable? Is the information error-free? Is there an editor or someone who verifies or checks the information that have been put on the internet? So these are things that you need to look for when you are checking the accuracy of the information that you have taken from the internet. Are there spelling, grammar, or other typographical errors? When you find a page full of mistakes, then you begin to question whether there was a proper editing or proper review of the information there, and who even did that review. The rationale for checking accuracy is very important because anything again can be put on the net, and you need to check for the accuracy of the information. Objectivity. Does information show a minimum bias? Is the page designed to sway opinion? There are so many sites laced with infomercials. So you need to pay attention and find out whether the information there is very objective. Then the rationale for it is that most of these sites are frequently sponsored by organizations who have an interest in what is going out. So check and see whether the objectives of the sponsors or the authors are clearly stated. Then the currency. Is the page dated? When was the last update page? This is very important. Assuming you have an assignment and you're supposed to find out the current statistics for a particular issue, and you go to the website without checking the last updated page, and you quote that particular statistics, your lecturer will tell you that you are out of date because that website you went to, it's a correct website, but the last updated date was probably 2006, providing you that statistics. So it is very important for you to always go to the last page to find out when the page was last updated. So currency is also a very important criterion for evaluating web page. Then the rationale for it is that revision dates may not always be provided. So if it is not provided, you need to look for another website which carries the same information or similar information, but which provides the last revised date. Then the last criterion is coverage. What topics are covered? What does this page offer that is not found elsewhere? The rationale being that the web coverage often differs from print coverage. So you need to know whether what is contained on the web page can be found exactly in your print coverage. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for web information, and since we will forever be using internet information as well, we need to be mindful of this criteria for evaluating the web information. For your study activity, you will need to answer these questions and go onto the Sakai, to your chat forum, and discuss a few of these. What is the internet, and what were its original uses? What is the World Wide Web? Distinguish between library gateways and specialized gateways. Thank you for listening to me. This is the final session in INFS 321. I hope you have really enjoyed the lecture on INFS 321 information sources. Let me remind you that this is a very practical course, and that all the activities which have been highlighted in each session should be done. And you should have a mental picture of all the books listed. You should have a mental picture of all the sites visited, so that you'll be able to answer the questions at the end of the session, and also be able to use whatever information you have for your own assignments, for your own studies. Thank you very much for listening.